When it comes to chatbot, it's not designers working together, coming up, with some sort of marks and giving it to development. Designers and engineers pair up together very often and say, all right, I have an idea of how I think this feature should work in chat. How can we support it? What do you need to do from the design end and what do I need to do from the engineering end? And a lot of it is understanding the platform equally among both parts. Hi, I'm Priya Ganapathy. I'm the Executive Product Director for Audience Engagement at Vox Media, and I now head consumer products at Vox Media. So I went to undergraduate. I studied engineering in undergraduate school, but fell into journalism about midway through an internship. I loved journalism so much that I decided to become a reporter. I went to journalism school and did a lot of technology reporting. After that, I worked with places like Wired, TheStreet.com, Red Herring magazine, largely covering technology in Silicon Valley. And after a while, when I was a reporter, I was also covering the introduction of the iPhones, the Android operating system, which sort of sparked my interest in mobile technology. I then moved to the Wall Street Journal, where I started focusing on mobile products. And I came at it initially from the journalism side. How do we write content? How do we create articles for a mobile audience that's reading our stuff through phones, apps, and soon transitioned to become a product manager on the Wall Street Journal's iOS and Android apps. From there, I went to Quartz, where I worked on sort of bringing products to new audiences and working with platforms, the rise of platforms like Facebook, Apple News, Google, AMP. All of that meant that journalism had to adapt itself to reach these audiences and also these content formats. So worked on that, and then I moved to Vox, where I now focus on new consumer products. So Vox Media is a network of 8 sites at this point. We have a portfolio of brands. We have SB Nation, which is very focused on sports and covers teams across the country. We have Eater, which is covers food and food-related news. We have a lot of dining out. We have technology sites, Verge and Recode, both of which are focused on bringing both technology news to us, as well as how technology is affecting our lives, from products, from gadgets to upcoming areas of interest. We have Curbed, which is a site focused on spaces, interiors, as well as exteriors, and we have Vox.com, which is a star in our portfolio, which is a lot about making sense of the world around us, whether it's through politics, culture, or just everyday life stuff, questions that we have. I would say it's a little bit of a cop-out, but it depends on the feature to a large extent and depends on the product. When, for instance, earlier this year, we set up a new consumer products team, which was focused, which is what I now work on, which is very much about bringing entirely new ideas to market. Each of the brands in our portfolio has something unique about it and is very interesting about the brand. What we want to do is take that and develop new product lines. When we're doing that, it's a much longer process, but where we start with is trying to form a product hypothesis. What is the problem that we are trying to solve? What is the solve that we are theoretically offering? From there, we kind of do a bit of user research, either through audience surveys or one-on-one interviews, where we ask people how are they using, trying to solve that problem right now, and what kind of tools do they use, what's their sort of approach to it. We take the results from our user research and try and do some sort of internal brainstorm and sketching to kind of solution it. From there on, it goes to a more formal design process, where not everything everything in that brainstorm makes it into that design process, but we kind of bring structure to it and say, here's our first wireframe that sort of, puts forth, that synthesizes everything that we have learned from our user research, our product hypothesis, the pain points that we're trying to solve, and this is sort of a first representation of it. So once stakeholders within the company agree, and once we feel comfortable with that wireframe direction, we kind of develop it further to get towards higher fidelity visual designs. Product at Vox Media works for all brands, so the same process applies whether we would be developing something for, say, SB Nation versus Vox.com versus Verge. So the process is the same. What the solutions are different, and the way the problems are different, but the process overall remains the same for all of the brands in a portfolio. I think when we're talking about chatbot, it's a completely different world. The playbook for that is not the same as what is existed for a web application or even a native mobile app. With chatbots, we found that the design team, the product team, and the development team have to be very tightly integrated, sometimes playing each other's role. There is unlike with the web application or with a native mobile application, there is no handoff of designs from one team to another. Design doesn't do the whole. When it comes to chatbot, it's not designers working together, coming up, with some sort of marks and giving it to development. Designers and engineers pair up together very often and say, all right, I have an idea of how I think this feature should work in chat. How can we support it? What do you need to do from the design end, and what do I need to do from the engineering end? And a lot of it is understanding the platform equally among both paths. Product cannot just write up a bunch of documents and present to design. A lot of it is prototyping in real time, because you got to see how it reads or hear how it sounds. So it's design and product then pairing together to develop prototypes, and then go to engineering with and say, all right, this is what we think conceptually it should be like. It's not so the entire sort of workflow or how we work together has changed for when it comes to chatbots. I think a lot of it is just getting down and doing it. There are some great we found that what helped us was great prototyping tools. We had ideas in our head. We had trouble communicating it earlier through static designs and user flows and customer journey flows. But getting together and prototyping it helped develop interest among not just the team members but larger stakeholders. Everybody's super excited when they hear something, a voice bot, what the idea of a voice bot could look like. Everybody's super excited when they see what a potential chatbot could look like. Otherwise, people are coming to the table either with preconceived notion, I don't know how it's, or they just don't know what to expect, which is worse, because you kind of you just don't know what you're walking into. But prototypes have solved a lot of those problems for us. They have made the process interactive. Stakeholders are able to visualize or see what the interaction is going to be like, and they are able to offer meaningful feedback, and along the way get super excited about something. There are significant limitations to chat and voice platforms today, but prototypes help work through some of those limitations when you're conveying your ideas to others. Conversational interfaces that we're working with is a hybrid of both. At this point, we are working on voice. We are working on a voice bot, but we are also working on chatbots. The way we are approaching it internally is to think about it as a single architecture that can feed multiple platforms with adaptation for each platform. But we are looking at the entire scope of products. When it comes to innovation, there's always this fear of what do you expect out of it? You're talking about products that are not seen. You don't know how. You're talking about communicating ideas and getting buy-in. And again, this goes back to my point about prototyping. Prototyping can solve and ease some of those worries around innovation. When you're able, in a way that static marks cannot. You can show designs, and people are it helps, but having a clear point of view, having a product idea or a hypothesis that you come to the table with, showing them what it could look like in a perfect world, and then scaling it back and saying that, all right, the prototype may not be exactly where I can end up with, but it's going to be pretty close, helps get that buy-in among stakeholders as well as team members, within the company, being able to see something and feel that this is real and not just vaporware or just a set of ideas that they're seeing in a document goes a long way. When it comes to conversational interfaces like voice bots or chat bots, we think it's a new way of accessing information. It's not about taking what you already have on a website and giving it to the consumer. It's not about already taking what we know as known UX paradigms in mobile apps and taking and giving it to the consumer in different format. It's giving them a new way of accessing information. It may be limited than what they could get on other platforms, but it's kind of unique. And it's a fun, engaging tool for them, So the key there when it comes to the consumer is to think about what are they getting out of this interaction? What is the payoff that they get when they use the chat bot or the voice bot? It's not about solving all their problems because the platforms are limited, but it's about giving them some sort of payoff at the end of the interaction.